Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Sober Bartender podcast, the show where we recover from life. I'm your host, Brandy Kelly. So, as I've told you guys, I moved to Corpus almost a year ago, and I have met some of the most incredible women that I have ever had in my life in just such a short time. Like, it's never happened to where I've met so many people that are aligned with just such a similar vision and on like the same path except different. And I have one of those women here today to talk to us. My friend Elly is here. Hello, Elly.
Hi.
So Elly, I met Elly with my friend Gwen, who has been on the show, and our friend Asia. We were having breakfast and they said, "We have a surprise for you. We have another friend." And it all just clicked really quick. And that was like right when you had decided to start on like your current endeavor, right?
Right. It was my birthday in April, and I literally that day just signed the lease for the studio. So yeah, I just kind of like jumped the gun and uh decided to see where the path takes me because ever since I got sober, it's been kind of riding the wave, going with the flow, and the more I let go, kind of the more I've been guided. And I trust in that so much now. And uh, yeah, it's gotten me everything that I ever wanted, everything I never knew I needed.
I love that. And I need that reminder like every single day. But you're just such a beautiful example of the flow, of just going with the flow.
Oh,
So
thank
now
you.
you're in the works of opening a yoga studio,
Right.
and that is an adventure in itself.
Yeah, lots of jumping through hoops, filing with the state and getting certificates. And like I said, signed the lease in April, and I was ready. I thought, I kind of imposed this timeline that I thought, I'd be open by, May, and then that got pushed back to June. And then I got an upper respiratory infection at the beginning of June, got bronchitis, my AC went out, I got held up like one thing after another. And that's the reminder for me, that I can't impose my expectations or my timeline on life and on my experience. And it's going to happen however it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, no matter, what, as long as I trust in myself and in my why, you know, I've seen the beauty and the power in asking questions, and I question myself all the time. And I've been so grateful to learn uh, how beautiful it is to know that why am I doing it? Why does this matter to me? Because if it goes wrong, if things don't go to plan and I find myself stumbling and stuck, and I don't want my whole uh, goal to come crashing down on me in like this big wave of doubt, like questioning, like, why am I even doing this in the first place? That I've been there, and like it's really defeating. And so again, just kind of really having faith in what I wanted, why I wanted it. And I just I question it for a second now, and then I'm like, you know what? I It's out of my hands, and I just have to trust and let myself kind of be carried through like life. And one of my mentors said, like, wherever life takes me, I go, and that's kind of like the humility of that I was first introduced to, like in recovery.
Mm-hmm. I love that you said your why, because I like in my coaching practice, that's one of the biggest things that I ask people daily, like when that question comes up, because it comes up, it's a theme all throughout our life, but especially when you're starting something big and doing it, unsure of outcomes and timelines, is like your why is your driving force. Not your driving force necessarily, but it's like that's what keeps you showing up. Like you've already put it out into the universe and you've started the wheels, but in order for you to keep going, you have to know why you're doing it.
It's like your anchor. It's that thing that centers you and keeps you coming back, no matter how far we may veer kind of off course in this direction, and we kind of go this way and we explore and we're totally allowed to change our minds. But in general, I think that who we are, who we were born to be, never really changes. I think that we've had a sense ever since we were children of what matters to us, what really spoke to us, and what uh, that connection to ourselves that we had as children, and our gifts and the things we enjoyed and the things that we wanted to share with others, uh, that love, and that we kind of lose sight of it when we grow up. Things like addiction really blind us to it. And that's why yoga to me is such a beautiful, powerful practice, because it's about getting established in self again, uh, reminding us of that innocence and that uh, fulfillment in life that we deserve. Well, we were born with it and we lose sight of it, but we can come back to it. And we have our gifts, we have the knowledge and the truth accessible to everyone. Uh, it's in our bodies as intuition. And it's only, the kind of clamor of other voices and rules and society and timelines and things that we kind of limit our experience by. And yeah, it's just getting reestablished in self.
I love that. I look at it like an unbecoming, like what I'm growing into is just unbecoming and reconnecting with that you just described. Yoga doesn't look like that for me because I'm not an active practitioner of yoga. So it's a little more painful and grunting, but I see it. I have experienced it in the past, and it is a place worth getting to.
Yeah. Coming back to that anchor. It's a good reminder, which again is that anchor is like your true nature, and the person that you always were, the person that you always were going to become. And the physical side of yoga is doing the asanas, which is the poses, the sequences, the flows, but that's just one aspect. I mean, there's 8 branches of the kind of classical yoga that is taught in like the West, but that's only one type of
Yeah,
yoga. And there's
absolutely.
meditation, breath work, and it's been really interesting for me from an educational standpoint, learning about the more subtle practices of yoga and like the subtle body and energetically what's happening in something so simple as shavasana. This is called corpse pose, where you're literally just laying on the floor, but it's one of the most active poses because so much is happening.
That makes sense. Did you do yoga when you were in your active addiction?
Yeah, that's what's crazy is I think why uh, yoga was really, I started doing yoga in rehab. Um,
Oh,
I went to an inpatient program for 30 days, and we had a great yoga teacher that came there, and we did it 3 times a week, and it was my favorite part of the week. I mean, because it was the first time that I ever really felt safe in my own body. And I had been so dissociated, so disconnected from self, um, in active addiction, using just really was a coping mechanism to kind of numb to the pain from trauma from my past. And yoga was a way for me to kind of reconnect to my body. And I was introduced to so many concepts like the subtle body, and energetically, like the concept of, even though I'm in rehab and I have to wake up at the same time every day. Like that was a real timeline. Like I lived by that schedule. I was very confined, but yoga introduced the concept of having freedom within. And that was very empowering to me to kind of take back uh, the power of feeling in spite of my external circumstances and being very limited and being very confined, especially with facing potentially some state prison time. uh, all I wanted to do was run and numb and hide. And so yoga was just one of the tools, one of the many therapies that I learned in rehab to kind of take back that power and give myself that freedom inside to take with me everywhere, to kind of build my own home inside, my own safe space, so that I knew no matter where I was, no matter what was going on around me, I've got me. I can take care of me. I may have crossed my own boundaries and broken my own rules in the past. That was the best I could do at the time. That was all I knew. Now I know better. Now I can be safer. Now I can be wiser. Now I can be stronger. Now I can nurture myself, love myself through whatever I put myself through, because in reality, we are our own masters. We are our own tyrants. We are our own worst enemy if, we get stuck in that kind of loop that's really, prominent in addiction.
yes. Absolutely, yes. You and I talked before. I'm like emotional already, and we're just getting started. I
Oh,
love the coming home to yourself, like just being a home inside of yourself. That's something that I say often, and just hearing you describe it so beautifully and so eloquently, it's something that when you're using and when you're in the turmoil and the chaos, like you want to get away from what's inside. And it's just such a beautiful thing to know that what's inside is where it's safe, and it doesn't matter what happens out there because you're in here, whereas before you needed to get away from you. I just love how you described that.
yeah, I think, uh, you know, through using and active addiction, like I said, I did not respect myself. There were many times where I didn't respect myself, where I didn't practice good boundaries, and I put myself in really dangerous situations, and that put me at risk for getting hurt, uh, being with people that I should not have been with, being in places that I should not have been. And years, I mean, almost a decade of that really compromised my trust in myself. And it was like I had become the biggest perpetrator in my own life. And um, it takes a lot of work, a lot of practice to reestablish that trust in yourself. And I've lost a lot of people along the way. I've I've hurt some people in my own journey, um, but forgiveness has been the most empowering lesson for me, for forgiving myself for the past, forgiving other people for, you know, what I really put myself, I signed myself up to get hurt by them,
Mhm.
taking accountability for my own part in my own suffering. Because there's suffering, and then there's suffering. There's the kind that happens to us. There's, things that are just really unfortunate, tragedies and things that are kind of beyond our control. But when we look back and take accountability for our own part, and especially how we hold on to that suffering, how we um, play the blame game, blaming other people, blaming life. Like life is just happening to me. And it's like, no, dude, life's just happening, you
You're
know?
happening to you.
The victim mentality was like the snake eating its own tail for me, is just kind of feeding that helplessness, that powerlessness. And like I said, with these therapies, with the tools like recovery and yoga, and there's all kinds of recovery. I did 12-step in rehab is what I kind of got introduced to, and it was very therapeutic for me, and gave me a solid community and a structure. But that's not the only type of recovery out there, and I'm I'm so grateful that I had that structure, because it took those tools to kind of come back to my anchor. And really, all it is with these, tools, with a good community, with structure, with routine, with consistency, no matter what it is, um, it's kind of all just remembering, remembering, like you said, unbecoming this person that you told yourself that you can basically, I created this person that I thought I needed to be to protect myself, or to hide, or to falsely empower myself, to put up this armor. Like if I had a couple drinks in me, then like no one could say shit to me. And it's it was all a lie, because the truth is that I have everything I need already. I don't need drink, any drug or substance or anything to give me anything that I don't already have.
Already inside of us.
Definitely.
but we can't see it when we just keep feeding it, or not feeding that, but just I feel like we pour all of these things all around it. And I picture it like the essence, it like in the core of us. And it's like, we add these experiences and these negative things that kind of form this crust. And then we pour more booze on top of that. And it's like 12-step recovery kind of, we took out the booze, through detox, and then through like treatment and recovery was where we kind of started chipping away at that crust, because I couldn't access those gifts that I had inside of me until I did that work to like uncover it.
Yeah. In yoga, um, everyone talks about karma, and like there's this kind of misconception that karma is kind of like some kind of like poetic justice, or like it's just like instant karma, or but in the uh like sacred texts, it's much more subtle than that. And it is the things that happen to us throughout our life ever since childhood, and they do leave what's called karmic imprints on us. So the injuries we've suffered, uh, by from our own selves or by others, uh, they create these karmic imprints, and like how we deal with them, how we cope with them, reinforces the the pattern, reinforces, every time that I say I need this substance to make me feel XYZ. I don't like something happening to me, my experience, I'm recoiling, and I'm saying that if I drink or if I use whatever, that it's going to make me feel better. That right there, I've given my power away. I'm giving more power to something outside of myself than I'm giving myself. And every time I do it, every time I use it, I'm just reinforcing the belief that relief lies outside of myself.
Mhm.
And it does build up like a crust, of really, it's just again, like it's not true. It's not who I really am. It's not really what I want. It's, every time, years of kind of putting myself through the same gauntlet, and really just, uh, wake up with like the worst hangover every day, and regret every day, and shame every day. Like it it really took a toll on my body, mind, and spirit. And um, like I said, I was facing a felony, and I uh, kind of just went to rehab as a last resort. I was out of options. I was at the end of my rope. I was like burning all the bridges of like my own family. Like they were sick and tired of watching me do this to myself. I mean, it hurts to see someone you love, uh, punishing themselves, hurting themselves, not loving themselves. When you see the gifts that they have, you see the beauty in them, you see the potential in them, and that no matter what you do, no matter what they did, they couldn't make me see it in myself. One of my favorite sayings is, uh, from one of my mentors: you can't force the lotus to bloom. It has to bloom from within. And that's the tragedy, like the kind of irony of life, of addiction. Um, no matter how many times a family sends their kid to rehab, if they keep relapsing, no matter how bad you want it for someone else, if they don't want it for themselves, if they're not willing to have that honesty and that accountability, it's just it's just futile. And so I just decided to I just had a moment of surrender in rehab. I said, okay, I really didn't want to say. We had to do meetings, we had to do group like 5 times a day. And I didn't want to say, like, I'm Elly, I'm an alcoholic. Like, it took me until day 4, and it wasn't until I asked a question. I was just like, well, what if? Like, what if, what does it mean? What does it mean for me to say I'm an alcoholic? You know, I didn't know. I didn't know what it meant if I had to give up something, or if I had to identify to something, or what I was signing up for. It was just scary. And finally, I just decided, like, all right, I knew that something had to change. I knew that, I mean, for the first time in my life, I was like, I've got a problem. I didn't know, I didn't know that it was addiction necessarily, but I just got to the point where I was like, I know that what I've been doing is not getting me what I want. And that I was, the last 2 years leading up to going to rehab, was the most miserable time of my life. And I was so unhappy. And I was sick of that cycle of just waking up. Um, like the the most heartbreaking days for me was like the days that I would wake up in, while I was using, and I'd wake up and I'd be really inspired to change. I'd be really like, I would start going to the gym. I would start cooking. I'd be like driving down across the causeway, looking out over the water, being like, damn, like this is beautiful. Like life is great. Like I deserve this, you know? And I'd go do something good for myself. And that night, I went out and got obliterated drunk and just hated myself. And I was sick of that. I just could not do it again. And so I really just kind of threw my hands up and said, all right, I'll do whatever it takes. And that's what everyone told me. Just do it. Just do what they tell you to do. Go to the meeting. Suit up, show up, shut up, all these little recovery jargon that
that
is
are so annoying that actually are so true.
yeah, they stay with me forever. And I just find some of them are so just like meta, like they apply to everything. And I'm so grateful for, all of the old timers that kind of sat in the back and like just kept chiming away with them. And I was like, what are you talking about? But it made so much sense, and it comes back to me all the time now. And uh, that's a big concept in kind of like the metaphysics of like yoga branching out into consciousness, and um, the kind of discussions that you get going further down into the philosophy of yoga. And it is that structure informs function. And if you want to change, if you want to heal, then you have to get up, make your bed, brush your hair, brush your teeth, go to, go to work, be surrounded by a community, have a support network, take care of yourself. And if you do that every day, it will come. The structure informs the function. If you put your psychic energy, your intention, your words, your thoughts are powerful, we become what we contemplate. So whatever you invest yourself in, like that is manifestation. You know, it's such like a kind of hype word now. Everyone talks about it, but it's real. What you give your power to, what you put out, you receive.
Yeah. Like what you're focusing on is absolutely what you're going to experience.
Yeah.
So you and I were talking before this, and had mentioned how people meet you and they can't believe that you were like a low bottom alcoholic. And I didn't know that you were facing a felony when you went to detox. Like when you meet you, it's just, you're just so light and so loving and so just easy. And it's just, they don't necessarily need to know what it took to get here, but also like, I like for people to know that it can absolutely be any one of us that has this going on. And that's why I love having the podcast, so that people can know that it is the people that you meet every day that you would never think. And so anyone that is facing, an alcohol or a drug addiction or a love addiction or codependency or whatever it is, wherever you're giving your power away outside of yourself, like there is absolutely a process and another life, the life that you were actually supposed to live, like the life that you still get to live if you choose it.
The life that you deserve.
You deserve.
Because if you deserve it, I deserve it. We all deserve it.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I have that you don't have. There's nothing that you have that everyone out there doesn't have. Like we all are made of the same stuff. We all have access to that, the truth. We can give that power to ourselves. We deserve it. We can give ourselves permission to soak up, you know, things that make us come to life, things that bring us joy, because like joy is contagious, like love, happiness. Like when you have good news, like when you get a promotion, and when someone gets proposed to, like first thing you do is you got to call, like you want to share it, you want to share it with the people that you love, because that's natural, like it's in our nature. And um it's just it's a it's just a crime to not allow yourself that, and to ultimately, by robbing it of yourself, you're robbing it of your ability to connect with other people, and you know not sharing your gifts with the world. And we all have gifts, we all have things to offer, we all have our own way of looking at things, our own perspective, our own experience. And everyone is kind of the center of their own universe, like it's all happening to me, and like it is and it isn't. And I think that that kind of acceptance of like letting things be both good and bad, letting life be ugly and beautiful, not needing it to fit into one end of the spectrum or the other. Like it's all the same. It's all one. We all deserve it.
What's that equanimity word that I just learned the other day?
Yeah, yeah.
It is what it is, and that's okay.
That's that inner peace, that inner freedom, acceptance. It's such a huge concept, and accepting accepting that in myself allows me to accept it in other people.
Mm,
If I can give myself permission to be imperfect, then it makes it that much easier for me to accept other people's imperfections. It makes it that much easier. If I love myself, I can love others better. If I forgive myself, I can forgive others better. If I can trust myself, I can trust others better.
absolutely. Because it is really all inside of us.
Yeah, there's the concept that like our external reality is a reflection of our internal landscape. And really, anytime I feel that anytime I'm not trusting somebody else, I really have failed. Like I'm not trusting myself. Anytime that it's hard for me to forgive somebody else is because I'm angry with myself and I'm struggling with forgiving myself. And um, it takes reconnecting to self, getting reestablished in self, to know what the heck I'm even feeling, you know, because so much of my life was not knowing how to give myself the time and the space to know what I even feel, what I need. And uh, back to giving myself permission to take the time and space to take what I need to soak it all in and have the self compassion first, to let myself shine, to let my gifts shine outwards, and loving myself, letting it shine out to other people. And when that happens, we're all a mirror. All of our relationships are like mirrors. They help us to know ourselves better. So everything that we put out, we're going to get back. And we're all self-serving, uh, self-interested creatures, but it serves me to live in a world where I am putting out the love that I trust will be, reflected. And so by doing my best, by being my best, by giving and trusting and forgiving, that's going to impact the people around me. And that's going to, give them the chance to take it in and give it back out. So it serves me. It's in my best interest to live in a world where we're all doing that for each other. And embodiment is the best way to do that.
Absolutely. I love that so much. I just love you. Like listening to you talk, I'm just like, oh yeah, this is an interview. Oh. So I know the answer to this question, but so you went to rehab and that's where you started doing yoga, but you didn't walk out of rehab and then just step into this version of yourself.
No, no, it's funny. That was 2017. So it's been a little over 6 years now. Gosh, I went down like, I feel like I've had like 5 lives since then.
Mm,
I went down a couple different paths. First with like really committing almost a little obsessively to my education. Um, finishing college, kind of going back and making up all of the terrible grade point average that I had accumulated in my addiction. So I had to kind of pull a whole redemption act there. And that's kind of what drove me for a couple years, even though I thought I wanted to do I actually wanted to get my degree in addiction studies and get my licensed chemical dependency counselor. I thought I wanted to open a rehab at one point. Uh, and then I thought that I would do more of a I kind of sidestepped and I focused on nutrition because I felt like nutrition was a really powerful way to heal the body. And it was such a major part of my recovery, just getting uh, back to my health, prioritizing my health after just not taking care of myself for so long. I had seen the most transformation, like the most drastic transformation in my health just from the first 6 months of sobriety. I lost like 53 pounds, and it was just crazy. So I I did nutrition, and then I changed my mind and I decided, you know what? Music was my passion. It had been my passion ever since childhood. I've been playing classical piano and taking lessons, and so I decided to go back to that. That felt like it was kind of honoring me more, and it was very fulfilling. And I'm sure I would have had like a great life, like going on to academia, like being a professor in music. But I kind of had another like major transition. I signed up for my first yoga teacher training, not to become a yoga teacher, not to open a studio. I just wanted to learn more about it. I wanted to kind of go on the journey of self. And I was really fortunate that I found such a reputable school with really just invaluable mentors and leadership and community. And that's when the whole thing with COVID happened. So everything kind of got flipped upside down there. And I got married. And even that, I I think after my yoga training, I really kind of started questioning like everything. And I felt like just not something was just amiss. And I kind of realized that it was the same thing of like that concept of putting my power in this like outside, this obligation on like this timeline of like the life that I was supposed to live and like the time that I was supposed to do it by, like being 30 and like getting married and having a family and yada yada yada, and like supposed to. One second, I'm gonna grab my charger real quick.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you said supposed to, and I feel like should is one of the dirtiest words that I ever say to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. I kind of had like an existential crisis because that yoga training, like I said, just really helped me get established in self. And I realized how much what I was doing with my life, with my decisions, with my goals, with my timeline was driven by what I thought I was supposed to do. And it was all, uh, it all came from outside of me. It was what, I grew up hearing. It was what my, parents or my family kind of imposed on me. It was what society imposed on me, and all these expectations of who I thought I was supposed to be. And I I kind of, had a little freak out, like a meltdown, breakdown when um ended up getting divorced. And, that's always really hard life change. And it took a lot for me to empower myself, to validate myself in that, like, what I really wanted and what made me happy and what I want, the kind of life I wanted to live. So it just kind of gave me the chance to give myself permission to choose who I wanted to be. And uh, along with all the emotions and everything that came with it, but I came out knowing uh, I was so much closer to my truth, to honoring who I was, how I felt, what I needed, what I believed in, what I valued. And that was the greatest gift I could ever give myself. And yeah, I ended up signing up for another yoga training in Costa Rica. I went there for a month. That did not go to plan. Uh, I was a little disappointed in the mentorship there. And again, I thought I was going to open my own yoga school and have trainings and train other teachers and travel and blah blah blah. And that totally shattered that plan too. And so that's really, again, where the importance of understanding my why, like why, what it is that I want to do. And ultimately it helped me come closer to knowing that I do want to help people. I do want to teach people how to feel safe in their own bodies, how to empower themselves, how to give themselves permission to take up space, to set boundaries, to say no, and knowing the difference between like setting boundaries and just putting up barriers and robbing that connection with others. So I really kind of wrestled with what I wanted to do. Part of me wanted to just kind of take off and do my own thing, especially after my dad passed away. Um, it all kind of happened around the same time with my divorce and just kind of figuring out what I wanted. And I ultimately came to the decision to, uh, I don't know, I felt called to stay in Corpus, and I felt like I could do the most good here. I felt like with um, a couple of friends, you know, in my group that I kind of just known for the past decade, and seeing a lot of people struggling with addiction, seeing a lot of people struggling with their health and mental health, depression, anxiety, and unfortunately things like suicide. It just really brought that to the forefront of my attention that we need something. We need something here to kind of to give people like a wake up call, to give people a chance to take back their power, because I've seen firsthand what taking control of your health does, and that prioritizing your health allows you to transform all areas of your life. And that's part of life, is change, transformation. And sometimes so many people are just stuck in that numb, dissociated, disconnected place that they've forgotten that they can. And yeah, that's when I kind of decided to commit to the studio and staying here and offering my gifts and my hard work and my investment in this, that I have just come to believe in so fully, like with everything that I am, and that I want people to have that, because like I said, if I can, you can. If I deserve it, you deserve it. And uh, it's opened me up to, ever since, committing to that back in April, it's opened so many connections. I've met so many people, including yourself. Um, it's just opened the door to so many beautiful opportunities and ways of looking at this community and my environment, which I've been in my entire life, like past 28 years. And um, I've really, the last 6 months has allowed me to fall in love with this city again, which I never would have thought I'd be saying, but it's true. And I've never been more sure of anything, and I feel I'm just ready and I'm excited.
I love that. I hear so many people, I'm new to Corpus, but I hear so many people say like, oh, I'm just trying to get out of Corpus, or you can never get out of Corpus. And I've met a lot of people who have gone to Costa Rica. I didn't know that you had done that as well. But I do know people who have these gifts and they want to go where they feel like they're going to flourish. And then they come back realizing that in their environment, they are flourishing, and that what they have is actually really needed here. And I saw it to where I'm like, oh, like the water's great, but I just felt so disconnected here, and just felt I was focused on the negative. And so that's exactly what the experience that I was getting, like we talked about earlier. But like you said, like once you put your focus and your intention and your energy into creating something beautiful here, like all of that beauty just, it comes into your peripheral, it comes into your sight. And I'm so excited to see what you do. Like I love watching what you do now, but just for you to be open and contributing to the Corpus area. Like I don't know if there's anything here. Like there are yoga studios here, but I don't know. Like you're also an Ayurvedic practitioner. I don't know if I said that right. Like I feel like the things that you're bringing are just so needed and so unique, and just exciting.
Yeah, it's Ayurvedic yoga. Yoga and Ayurveda are sister sciences. So yoga is kind of um, described as a practice that works from the inside out, and Ayurveda is a practice that kind of works from the outside in. So um, this studio is incorporating a lot of Ayurvedic elements in it. I won't be an Ayurvedic practitioner until um, I'm in the middle of a training now, which I'll graduate from in December, and I've decided to continue with it and go on to a 3-year course that at the end I will be an Ayurvedic practitioner. And yeah, like I said, it's just this whole journey has been a lesson in opening my eyes to how important our health is, how important, you know, that it really starts from the inside, and that there are so many, energy, like you can't see it. We can't see so much of what drives everything, every chemical reaction in the universe that, is a subtle reaction. And things like yoga and Ayurveda is is just opening us up to being aware enough, being sensitive enough, being in tune enough with nature, with the elements, so that we can work with it, so that we can get back to nature, so that we can be more aligned, so that we can honor our truth. And yeah, I'm excited, and yeah, I'm just grateful. Gratitude is kind of a practice, really, because gratitude, being grateful for what we've been given, is how we open ourselves to receiving more of that from the universe. And um, I just try to remember that every step of the way. And I have seen, I've just committed everything to this. I'm all in. It's it's worth it to me to devote literally all my time, all my energy, all my resources to. And especially after seeing the way my dad's health really deteriorated at the end of his life. And, you know, I don't want that for anyone. I don't want that. I don't want anyone to see their parents go through that. And uh, it's something that empowers us to go through life more gracefully, more forgiving, more nurturing. And yeah,
Your story is amazing. Like it's just incredible to I don't know you when you were drinking, but I can picture that you were just right in line with me
wow.
and who you get to be today and how you get to live and live in alignment with who you truly are and keep discovering who you are as more is revealed. Like I love that. And I love that for my listeners. I love that people get to hear that no matter where you were or what you're facing, your life can look completely different.
It's completely in your power to expand exponentially the realm of possibilities if you just say, like, to anything that you've ever told yourself, any belief that has ever kind of held you back, and just all it takes is one moment of like, what if, what if, you know,
Yeah.
what if I tried? What if it doesn't have to be so rigid? What if I don't take myself so seriously? And like, give yourself permission to enjoy it. Like, we have so much to be grateful for. Waking up every day to live, not with no guarantees, no uh fallback, no safety, no, I mean, it's it's a it's a wave, and there's ups and there's downs, and it's the good and the bad, like two sides of the same coin. Like you can't have the good without the bad. And by being grateful, you know, accepting that with grace, the bad times, and trusting that the good times will be back again.
This too shall pass.
Definitely.
Elly, I love you so much, and I thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
I love you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I hope we'll do this again. And I can't wait to see your studio and share that with our listeners, because I know we do have a listener base here in Corpus. So I can't wait to go and support that.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to lunch too.
Oh, yes, yes. We will talk about that as soon as I stop recording. For those of you that are listening, thank you much for taking the time to come and listen to us. It really does make a difference. If you're enjoying this podcast, please take time to like, subscribe, share, rate, review, tell your cousin that you think may benefit from it. However, if you're struggling, I just want you to know that you are going to get through this and you do matter. And I am so glad that you are here. And I love you guys. I will talk to you next Wednesday.